Hello, everyone, and anyone listening to this. This is the Contemplative Currents podcast by Shek Kuyenu, and I'm very excited about this particular episode. So it's called, I'm titling this "Oh Friends." Or oh friend, there are no relationships outside of yourself. And this one in particular, or talking about what I'm going to share here today, this one tickles me so much. And I think I want to put a few words of caution here, at least my own disclaimer here. It's that I do not really present any teachings. I'm very sensitive to not uh, making any claims, any truth claims. But what inspires me to write the way that I write and to share these things that I share is the experience. Experiencing certain things in our own direct experience. So this one would come with some guided experiential prompts that I think would be I'm absolutely excited to be sharing this with you. But before I go into that, I like to do a little bit of some house cleaning here. First, I so in the last 2 weeks, if you follow me on Substack and you follow this podcast through Substack also, you may notice that I think the last 2 weeks, you may have gotten a number of emails or notifications for new essays and the podcast and all of that. I find that I may have overwhelmed inboxes. So I started my Substack thinking, hey, I want to write twice every week about the things that are coming up for me in my own experience, and giving myself that deadline, or that giving myself that challenge, was something that I totally enjoyed. And then the idea of starting a podcast also came. So I was like, but I already promised myself that I was going to write 2 essays, and then with the podcast, that made it 3 different creative projects that I was pushing out, or three pieces of content that I was pushing out every week. So I'm seeing that there's a sense here of wanting to maybe write an essay, just one essay every week, and then one podcast episode. So for now, what I'm going to be experimenting with is having an episode that's just going to be more or less the commentary of what I'm currently writing. So this one, like I mentioned, is called "Oh Friend, There Are No Relationships Outside of Yourself." And I've started to pen down the essay that's going to be on my Substack. And of course, in writing, for me, it gives me the opportunity to, go back to what I'm writing before publishing, that is, go back to what I'm writing, re-examine my thoughts, see what's true for me, rephrase things here and there. With with the podcast, or with what I'm doing here orally, I don't really have that opportunity. So this is going to be a lot of um what's the word, uh something of consciousness. I can't remember the expression here. So yeah, I'm excited to go into this one. One other thing that I wanted to mention, for anyone who subscribed within the last month, I've had a number of subscribers the last month. Thank you so much for for putting my for trusting me to share a few insights that are interesting in my own experience, or that I find really interesting here. And please, I would love feedback. If you have any things that you want to share with me, if there are things that resonate with you or don't resonate with you, please let me know. And this is for everybody also. Actually, you can, with any notification that you get by email from my Substack, and if you're getting this podcast also through Substack and this is in your inbox, you can always press the reply button, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be sharequino@substack.com or something like that. I would get it in my own inbox. So please feel free to uh to reach out to me in private. All right. To the crux of this matter here. So, so ever since I realized this, what I want to share here, I think that I would say that every relationship for me has made me feel really giddy inside. And I'm talking about every relationship, with strangers, with coworkers, with friends, with neighbors. There has been some excitement here. And, eh, you know, part of this realization for me has been that there are actually, or there's no other. There's actually no other. There's just yourself. And I'm not talking about solipsism here. This is what I'm trying to point to is it's not solipsism. I would say solipsism is very incomplete in its investigation of whether there's just one person who exists and every other person is a shadow. That's not really what I'm talking about. My It's very clear here from this particular perspective that our sense of separation, our what looks like me and others, is just it's an illusion. And the type of illusion here I'm talking about is the illusion that's it's an illusion of separateness coming from the singularity, if that makes sense. Jeez, I sound very scientific here. Singularity. No, but I'm trying to point out here is when we start to see that is who we really are is awareness. And this is conceptual here. But please bear with me for for now. But when we see that who we are is this awareness that can't be found in time and space, then we see that what we call the body and the mind, what we call ourselves versus others, are just an appearance of awareness, if that makes sense. This is probably not. I'm not going to go deep dive into this idea here. I think I have a number of essays that deep dive into this. But for this particular one, I really want to go into our experience of others, or ourselves versus others, or how we are in relationship with others, and seeing clearly that there are no relationships outside of ourselves. And I would, once again, I'll go into this, I'll go deeper into this in a bit. And we'll do a contemplative exercise so that you, in your own experience, you're going to see what I am talking about, or you would experience this for yourself, hopefully. So there are three categories of people who, and or three categories of reception of the idea that I'm sharing here. For some, I think that the first category are people who this would click for, if it already isn't totally obvious, right? That there are actually no others. There's just yourself. Every what seems to be an external relationship is really just a relationship with one's self. Once again, I'll go deeper into this in a bit. The second category of people's reception of this idea, I would say, is it may sound outrageous or even preposterous to some. Like, what do you mean there there are no others? Isn't this solipsism, or isn't this, this, I can clearly see that I am here, and then there are other people. There's going to be that, or they're going to be. That's the second category of perception of this idea, or what I'm trying to share here. And for the third, the third category here is going to be someone who probably listens to this and is feeling like, there has to be there's something in here that I can I can grab. There's something here. There's some truth here. Maybe I just need to peel some of these layers and dig deeper into what's coming out for me. So in any of these categories, I would say it's these are, once again, these are just shares. These are just ideas. I'm not in any position to make an absolute claim to truth. My attempt here is for us to enjoy the experience of being, the experience of who we are. And part of the experience of who we are should come from a sense of curiosity, should come from a sense of exploration. Let's explore. If we are here, if we notice that we are we in quote exist, what is existence, and what does existence really mean, and what's the fabric of existence? What does existence really mean? How do I investigate existence? So yeah, there are no others. You're only in relation to yourself. So this particular essay that I'm writing and this podcast that I'm sharing was really inspired by a friend of mine, for the sake of for the sake of anonymity, because she's also a subscriber and would probably be listening to this at some point. Uh she calls me over the weekend, and we were going through some of the things, some of the situationships, or a situationship that she was going through, where she had um she had a friend who she had romantic feelings towards, and from what I what I'm gathering, there's likely not a any form of reciprocity in this particular instance. Meanwhile, they're about to go into some kind of business dealing, and she was a little bit, I think there was some kind of fear or apprehension for what may be a messiness if things kick off romantically for the two of them, and if they were business partners, what for her, I think there was the concern of what would then happen. So, I mean, our conversation went way beyond this, but a bit of what happened, or what I was hearing, really got me really excited about expressing this. And I think I shared some of what I'm also going to be sharing in this episode with you. And that, ultimately, we've never experienced others outside of ourselves. We've only ever experienced ourselves. I would say that again, and I would want you to to think about this as I say it. You have never experienced anyone outside of yourself. You've only experienced yourself. And I'll give an example here, or something in your own experience that you can try out. And I wrote a little bit about this in my essay. I hope I remember to to actually put this particular example in it. If you touched a tree, as an example, and I took a picture of a tree for for this example. If you touched a tree, you would agree with me that you only felt sensations. There were sensations within yourself. In short, the tree, you do not have any, there is no proof out there that the tree felt your touch, right? But there is absolute proof within yourself that you felt sensations. So did you touch a tree, or did you experience a tree, or did you experience yourself? Or did you experience sensations within yourself? Do you does this resonate? Does this make sense? Let me take it a little further. You've never known how someone feels. You've only felt yourself. You've never, ever, ever, ever known how somebody feels about you. You've never known how someone feels about anything. You've only known how you feel about people, about others, about how they felt. You see that? You see where I'm going with this? You've never known anyone's emotions. You've only known your projection of their emotions. I'll say that once again. Once again, you've never really known anyone's emotions. You've only known your own projection of their emotions, which most likely created an emotional state within yourself. So, in short, all we have ever known is ourselves. I'll even take it a little step further. I've never made anyone feel good. Same as you've never made anyone feel good. You've only made yourself feel good and believed it was about the other person. Their emotional reaction is not a proof of anything that's ultimately verifiable. What you can verify in your own experience is your own experience. Does that make sense? If you've ever come across Byron Katie's work, it's called The Work. I think you can find it on thework.com. That's thework.com. It's brilliant. I would say she's a more or less a non-dual teacher. I'm not sure she would describe herself as that, but what she does is with the work, if you have, say, a problem with a relationship with a partner, say for instance your partner annoys you because they turn the music up too loud or something like that, right? Part of her work is, or what she does in her work is, or in her work called The Work, is you actually invert the statement. So instead of saying something like my partner annoys me with the music, you say I annoy myself with the music. Right? Initially, and for anyone who's going into her work for the first time, it almost feels like it's gaslighting. Like, how can this, like, if my partner is annoying me, how can I say I'm the one who's annoying myself? Like, that's gaslighting. If you pay close attention to it, you would see that all our reactions and how we are reacting to the world has nothing to do with the external. They have everything to do with with the internal, with how we're moving through life, how we're processing life. um it's just it it's something you have to see for yourself. It's something that you have to experience for yourself. In my essay, in fact, I'll probably share with you a paragraph that I've already written. And this particular paragraph is about, maybe a relationship that's not even pleasant, an adversarial relationship. So I wrote, consider the adversarial relationship one marked by conflict and discord. On the surface, it seems the clash is between two distinct individuals with opposing views. But if we look closely, we see that the anger, the resistance, and the judgments we direct outward are fueled by something that resides within, an internal unrest, a disowned aspect of ourselves that seeks acknowledgement. The adversary in this light becomes a teacher, an unwitting guide to our own shadows. And then I wrote, by understanding this, the nature of the relationship shifts. Instead of focusing on changing the other or resolving the external conflict, we're invited to turn inward and address the roots of discord within ourselves. So, yeah, this really touches home for me. For a while now, and especially after I went through more or less my deconstruction from evangelical Christianity. I found myself in a situation where I had this adversarial relationship to anyone who claimed that they were Christians. And I'm like, can't you see you're blind? Can't you, like, this? The Bible doesn't say. In fact, why are you holding on to the Bible? Like, the Bible was just written by mere fallible men and things like that. I used to, I had certain narratives that I would carry, and I would be really upset with people who fail to, in quote, open their eyes to see beyond their dogma. And now, with my mom, who I would say is very conservative, she's more or less a an evangelical Christian, if I would put it, describe her position that way. We would go into certain arguments about how I saw life and how I saw scriptures and how I saw Christianity and the core Christian values, or what some would say are the core Christian values. And we go into arguments, and I would get so upset with her, and I would almost want her to be able to see things the way I see it. And for me, there would not be any rest until she sees clearly, or until she sees my point of view, right? And I found that was driving a wedge with between our relationship, until I realized none of this was about my mom. Everything was about my own self and what I was struggling with within myself. And so, as at the time of this recording, my mom is here in the US with me, and I found a finding that clarity and finding that peace within myself, knowing that there are no my mother, and this particular relationship isn't outside of me. My mother and our relationship, whatever dynamic that is within me. Once I realized that, once I figured that out, it was easy to come to peace with myself, to come to peace with that which is within me. And somehow, what I find to be interesting is that the external then mirrors what's going on outside. So in this particular situation, it was just so easy to be able to see that my mom, my ideas and the things that I wanted to enforce on her, my mom, about where I stand in these ideas and in these things, was irrelevant. All that was important was my relationship with myself. And once I found that out, once I figured that out, um, there was just more or less peace. So, with all of this, there's less of trying to control the external world. I'm not even trying to control the internal world. All I want to see is just to see the internal world. Where there's conflict, where there's joy, where there's love, I want to see. I want to, what's the word? I want to observe it from a place of love. The same way when you go to the zoo, and you see the you see a baboon just sitting on a tree. You want to observe the baboon. What's its behavior? It's sitting on the tree and just staring. I want to look at its eyes. It's scratching its armpit. What could be under that armpit as it scratches? What does it feel like to be a baboon seated behind those walls? For me, it's that, observing the things that are within me, observing how, what's coming up for me. And so, in observing what comes up for me, in paying close attention to my internal state, I can start to see places that, or how that reflects with the external world. And when there's conflict in the external world, obviously there's really in truth, there are no conflicts externally. The conflicts are within. But when I spend more time with the conflict within, and see that the conflict out external is just a symbolism, is a representation of conflicts that I have within, then perhaps I may start to see that there are opportunities to see freedom, to be liberated, if that makes any sense. So I have an exercise that I would like to share with you, a contemplative exercise, or I'll put it more as an internal investigative exercise to see how this idea, or how this perspective land within your own experience. Um, and when I hope that with this exercise, whatever this exercise is, and as I share this exercise with you, um, if you've not already seen this, um, I hope that this sticks as it's a constant reminder of how we can find ourselves within ourselves and not within our external situations. I I personally have to constantly bring myself back to this understanding, to this knowing, and I'm sharing with you the same tools that I use for myself. So I would go right into this exercise. So if you're, I don't know how you're listening to this, if you're driving or you're working or doing something that more physically tasking, this may not be the very best time. If you can pause this and maybe come back to this, set a timer or something to come back to this exercise, that would be really lovely for yourself. Um, but if you're in a relaxed space, you don't have any distractions, anything that's going to distract you from participating in this exercise, in this exploration, then it would be a good time to get comfortable and perhaps close your eyes. This would be about, this may take about 10 to 15 minutes. So get very comfortable and have your eyes closed. Bring your attention to your breathing. No, close your eyes. I see your eyes. Close your eyes. Yes. Yes, you. All right. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Now let your awareness settle within your body. Perhaps you want to notice the rate of your breathing, whether it's shallow, it's fast, whether it's subtle, whichever way. Begin to pay attention to the weight of your body against the surface in which it rests on. And now we're going to go into the mental spaces here. Bring to mind a relationship that's active in your life. Perhaps it's one that feels charged, whether with love, whether with frustration, or longing, or uncertainty. It could be a romantic relationship, a platonic friendship, a work relationship, or even someone who triggers you. Now, as you hold this person in your awareness, notice how their presence affects you. With them in your attention, what sensations arise in your body? Pay close attention to that. What sensations arise in your body? Perhaps it's warmth, or it's a tension, openness, resistance. Just notice. You don't need to do anything about it. Just notice. Now we're going to do an inward focus here. So rather than focusing on them, what they've done, what they might do, what they mean to you, all of that, I want you to shift your attention further inward. So you may ask yourself, what part of me is activated by this relationship? So for you, maybe what longing or fear does this person illuminate within me? What fear does this person ignite within me? Oh, let's explore your belief here. So what do I believe they give me that I do not already have? What do I believe they give me that I do not already have? Ask yourself this other question. What about them do I resist? And where does that resistance live within me? If this is a relationship with some resistance, some conflict, and if it's a beautiful relationship or a romantic relationship, a peaceful, loving friendship, ask yourself, what part of me is activated by this relationship? Now sit with these questions and observe what arises without judgment. It's not a time to judge. It's a time to feel, almost physically search for these places within you. Now, I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that this person is not separate from you. That what you admire in them is a reflection of something within you. Or if they frustrate you, what frustrates you in them? See that it may be a mirror of something within you seeking to be acknowledged. What truth can be in that statement? What truth is it that there may be a mirror of something that you haven't acknowledged? What haven't you acknowledged? If you could say to yourself this particular phrase, this relationship is showing me myself. What truth is in that phrase? This relationship is showing me myself. This relationship is showing me myself. Is it true? Could it be true? If it's not true, why is it not true? If it's true, why is it true? Now let this thought settle. How does it feel? Is there relief, discomfort, or a sense of curiosity? Is there a sense of freedom or further resistance as you go through, as you explore this? For you, there's resistance. Pay attention to it again. Where does this resistance live within you? If there's a within you, a physical location, so to say, where exactly is the resistance? Would you find it to the left side of you, the right side of you, the deep side of you, the shallower side of you? Where is that resistance? Can you also see that if you can find the resistance, then you can also let it go? And if you can find the resistance, then surely there's nothing outside of you. There's just the resistance within you. It's all happening only within you. Now, with your eyes open, if you have a journal, a piece of paper and pen that you can write, I'm going to share a few prompts here. And you can write as freely as you possibly can, without thinking, without putting thoughts to this. I'll share 5 prompts in a few seconds. So the first prompt, when I think about, now insert the person, I notice that I feel I'll ask the question again. When I think about that person, whoever that person is, I notice that I feel the blank. The qualities, that's the next question now. The qualities I see in them that I admire are, fill the blank. The third question, the qualities I resist in them are, also fill the blank. What if these qualities were actually within me? Now write out what comes up for you when you have that question. And then the last question, what is this relationship teaching me about myself? Write the answers down for you. As you write these answers and as you explore these questions, you may begin to see at a more palpable level that there is something that goes on within us. And we may have spent a lot more time and we've culturally been programmed to believe that something outside of us needs to be fixed for something within us to be fixed. I want you to examine how that can be, if there's any truth to that perspective. Perhaps we may start to see that, generally speaking, we've been waiting for the world to be fine so that we can be fine within us. Could it also be true that when we are fine within, that fineness or that peace, that sense of sense of freedom within us, we somehow bring it to the external world, or what we call the external world? We're no longer held captive by our demand for the external to be a certain way, for the internal to feel complete and whole. Perhaps there's still some resistance about, oh, but this person needs to change, or that person needs to change. Look within yourself once again and see what the resistance is doing within yourself. Notice that it's the resistance, what you're feeling internally can only be witnessed internally, cannot even be brought out externally. So as you move through your day, carry this perspective with you. Each time you interact with someone, take a moment to ask, what in me is being reflected here? And you may notice how this changes your experience of connection with yourself and with others. You may notice that in fact your focus on others was really not as important as your focus on yourself, within yourself. Now I want to leave you with this tip, or this thing to watch out for. Once again, I'm not making any supernatural claims here, or any truth claims here. I want you to, in your own experience of this experiment, this thought exercise, for you to notice what happens within yourself and how that reflects on the external. I want you to observe the internal, external representations within anything, starting with relationships. All right, fellas. One last statement here. In truth, our relationships are not about others. They have never been about others. Instead, they are about ourselves. They are doorways to deeper self-awareness. When we truly see this, every interaction becomes a doorway. It becomes a meeting with ourselves. And like I expressed earlier, that when I meet people and when I talk with people and when I interact with people, there's a giddiness that I feel within myself. It's through this seeing, this realization, I begin to notice experience that freedom, knowing that when I'm frustrated by people and I get frustrated, I get into situations where I'm frustrated by somebody. That often happens at work for me more than anywhere else. I find that there's something within myself that was triggered, had nothing to do with the external. But it's in that triggering that the external gets turned on, or should I say, because of the triggers within myself, the external wakes up to become a mirror for my experience. Check this out within yourself. All right, fellas, this ends my longest podcast yet. Grace and peace, my friends. Grace and peace, my friends. And see you in another episode. Bye for now.